What's up, everybody? Aaron J. Moss here with another lesson. This isn't going to be a lesson on guitar playing or anything. It's really a lesson on practicing. So, let's get started. Okay, Mike K. asked me a question the other day. Basically, he said that as he learns new scales, he forgets scales he already knows, and he's searching for missing link. Well, Mike, don't worry, this is a very common problem. It happens to a lot of guitar players. I myself had it happen a lot, a couple of years ago, and I finally found a solution that worked for me. Before I get to that, let's actually talk for a second why this happens. Let's get started. Let's say you've learned a particular scale. Let's use the minor scale. It's good. You're like, yeah, I like this. It's cool. It's awesome. And then you get to where you can do an advanced one of it like this. Now, you're like, yes, I've got it down, I can play solos in it, and it's awesome. So you say, but I want to learn a new scale. So I'm going to put this one aside. I've memorized it, so it's good. Putting it aside, I'm going to learn the diminished scale, so you practice it. Yes, it's awesome, it's cool. And you spent maybe a couple of weeks perfecting it, and you play it, and it's awesome. And then you go, well, I want to go back to my minor scale for a second. And then you haven't touched the minor scale in all this time. That's where your problem is. When you go back to it, you're going to be like, okay, which positions was it again? Because you've been focused so much on the diminished now. Your hands are used to playing that. Your mind is used to thinking in that way. That's the problem. That's where it happens. So you have to relearn the first scale you learned, and it can go into different levels. It can go into just simply memorizing the pattern again. It can go into memorizing everything about it again. It can just be as simple as it only takes you 2 seconds to go, okay, it was, and do it. This is where it happens. This is where it used to happen with me constantly, because that's what I would do. I would learn, a scale, and then I would end up going, okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next one. I don't need to practice this one anymore because I already know it. That's the problem. Never, ever do that with any technique. Not just scales, with anything. Scales are one of the most common places this happens, but it can happen in other techniques. Especially anything with patterns. If you're using tapping patterns, arpeggio patterns, solo patterns, anything. So, the trick that I use is, it's actually in my practicing. When I sit down and practice, I practice everything I know. I don't mean I practice every single song I know. That would take me forever, because I know a lot of songs. I practice every technique I know, even if it's just for a very short time. So I'm going to take you through basically a fast-forward version of a 10-minute exercise for me. Let's say I only have 10 minutes to sit down and play. I know people that have hours they can devote to practicing. I'm not one of those people. I have a lot to do in my life, so I have to squeeze practice in wherever I can. I know a lot of people are like that. Whether it's school, work, or just other responsibilities, you have to just kind of get guitar in there whenever you can. So if I sit down, I know I've only got 10 minutes to play before I have to go do whatever. So probably what I would do is I would start with a warm-up, and an intensive warm-up. It's not just a gentle one. It's really hardcore, really just, usually I do warm-ups like this. A lot of legato. Like a lot of pentatonic work, or sometimes I'll just even do this. Really to stretch the fingers out. It's just basically, going one, and I'll do this. A lot of stuff like that, just really fast, really intense, you know. So when I'm doing it, I'm like, so that warms my fingers up. The next thing I do is I practice my modes. I'll start like in friggin' in first position, like. Then I'll move up to the Ladian. And up to mixed Ladian, and then just all the way up until I reach the next friggin' position. And what this is doing, usually when I'm doing this, I'm really playing it fast. I played it slower there for you to see. I'm really playing it fast, you know, just a lot of like, you know, this. The reason for that is I'm doing 2 exercises there in one. I'm working my fingers out. I'm memorizing, again, the pattern, just really kind of refreshing my memory on those patterns with the modes. Also working with my speed picking. And it's working so many different things simultaneously, but I'm not really thinking about those individual things. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing, and that's it. After I do that, you know, the first exercise, the warm-ups, may take about a minute. Then the mode exercises, maybe another minute. And then after that, I might really focus on some more scale positions. Like I might run through that 3 or 4 times, backwards and forwards. And then I might work on my chords for a little bit. Really just switching between them, just randomly, just whatever I happen to feel at that time. That is practicing my chord positions as well as switching between them. When I'm doing them randomly, I'm just, whatever comes to my mind, I do it right then and there. That helps for when you're playing to do that. It becomes second nature to do your chords. Then after that, I usually do that for maybe 2 minutes because, you know, it's just as easy. The next thing I probably do is maybe some tapping. First I'll do some classic tapping, and then I might do some advanced tapping. So what I've done there is, again, practicing the positions with my left hand and practicing tapping with my right. So I'm basically killing like 3 or 4 birds with 1 stone with each exercise I'm doing. By the end of the 10 minutes, you know, I've already worked on all my techniques, all my patterns. You know, I might throw in some pinch harmonic stuff there to really just kind of practice out. You know, I might practice, you know, some left-handed playing. I play left-handed a lot, so I might practice some of that. That I probably would do for a longer session. I usually don't do that for short sessions. You know, I might just practice then some random techniques, you know, some of my more advanced kind of trademark things that I do a lot, you know. If I'm using a whammy bar, you know, some of my legato stuff, pushing the whammy bar down and doing all this weird stuff with it. You know, some of my reverse tapping techniques and just all this stuff. I try to cram it all into that session. The reason for this is it's kind of like a bodybuilder. This is a good analogy I can use. You take a bodybuilder who can, say, bench 400 pounds, and then he gets injured, and he's out of the game for a few months or a year. When he goes back, he can't just pick up the 400 pounds again and start trying to bench. He has to start a lot lower and build himself back up. So when you don't do something for a while on the guitar, it's the same principle. Your fingers forget how to do it, and you know, you have to build back up. You have to remember how to do it again. Because playing guitar is not just all about your mind. It's about your hands, too. When you're playing guitar, there are 3 things going on simultaneously. You're thinking it, you're playing it here, and you're playing it here. It's a triangle. like that. So when you end up, my advice is follow my training ideas there, and really when you're going to sit down and practice, what you should really do is just, even if you only devote 1 minute to a particular technique, but just try to milk that minute for everything it's worth and really get a lot out of that technique. What this does is, because you're practicing hopefully every day, you're doing this every day, you never will forget anything. You know, you will remember all your techniques, all your patterns, and everything. Another key thing is write stuff down. You know, if you learn a particular scale or a chord or a solo, whatever, write it down on a piece of paper. Now, even if you have it in a book, still write it down, because the art of actually sitting down and drawing everything and writing it out really kind of engraves it in your mind. And because you're writing it, you can understand it a little better. So, whatever you learn something, take a pen, a piece of paper, and write it down. You know, and also something else is good to do is don't just stick in the same key when you're playing everything. You know, play in different keys, try to sit there and do the same things in different keys. You know, because that also will help your fingers get to where they can remember things in different places. And if you're playing with somebody and they like playing in a particular key that you're not used to, if you practice in every key that you possibly can, it's not that big of a deal for you. The other thing is, as I've said in my other video, learn every note on the neck. It is crucial when you're trying to learn scales, chords, and everything, because it's a very vital piece of information for you to have. It's easier to find what you need to do, and once you know every note on the neck, when you're learning a scale, you can easily find where it is and how to play it. Because once you start learning advanced scales, you realize that there are literally hundreds of different ways you could play the scale. It's not just a fixed position. There are fixed positions we have, but you can literally create tons and tons of positions, all catering to your particular style. Whether it be string skipping or, actually, playing part of it here, then playing the next part down here, and then playing the next part up here. There are different ways you could do it. So I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment telling me what you think and what you'd like to see in future videos. As always, have fun and rock on.